Hello and welcome to the Mac Knows channel, where we discuss everything from homesteading to hunting to home repairs and do-it-yourself projects. Today we're going to talk about some things that are going on underneath my home. Now, we've been really blessed to buy an old home here in the foothills of North Carolina, but the problem is we got a lot of problems underneath the home. And I'm going to walk you through some things and just show you some things that maybe can help you down the road. So let's go take a look. Now, as you can see, right now we're underneath the porch, which is an extension off of our home. Our home was basically a 1978 mobile home, and we're going to take a look in just a second. You can see a lot of damage that's underneath there with insulation on the ground. But down here, there used to be really no insulation in the supports and the I-beams in the flooring. And so I went ahead and bought some R-Max, which has basically an R value rating of about a 3, maybe a 4, and it's really helped as far as keeping the heat in the winter time. So let's go ahead and take a look now what we got going on under here. Pardon me for the camera. As you can see right now, yeah, if I can get it here zoomed in. Okay, really hard to see, but down here is the area that I've kind of already taken care of, and you can see I've cut out R-Max insulation and basically looked for every 16 inches you've got your support beams for your flooring, and I went ahead and I've used some sheet metal screws, really hard to see here, but to put this up and to keep it up, and then I've got some pressure treated 2x4s. Now, I know some of you are going to say, well, wait a second, what about termites? Well, we're going to talk about that in a future episode where I'm actually going to do that myself as well. Funny, I got some quotes on a couple competitors who have come and walked or have crawled underneath here and said it'll be $2,000 to do any kind of termite control, and I said, "You're no way." And another one was $700, but they wouldn't even come underneath here. But anyway, let's get to this problem. I'll get here and crawl over. One thing is, you definitely need to have plenty of PPE on under here. A lot of loose insulation on the ground, which means we got insulation in the air. And this insulation is, 1978, maybe earlier. So I really don't know. I haven't tested it, but I would suspect there could be some asbestos in there. But what had probably happened, as you take a look here, you can see where the heat duct is where the insulation has come apart. Now, I removed a lot of stuff that's here in the middle, but what I suspect happened was the air conditioning unit got plugged up, and as far as for water runoff, there's a 3/4 inch PVC down there on the other end that I noticed was filthy. It was plugged up, and I could see some holes that were drilled in to the ductwork because the ductwork probably was full of water. And when they did that, the water got into the insulation and it caused it to all come down. One thing that I've seen other people do on YouTube is make a tarp and then glue on the tarp insulation and then mat it up there, kind of like what was already done previously in the mobile home. I'm sorry, the video quality is poor, and I could probably do a better job with the lighting. But anyway, you can see what I've done here with the heat register as far as the ductwork goes, I went ahead and wiped it down, and then I used this R-Max and basically boxed it in. And I can tell you that on a cold day, I've measured the heat register, and before I did this, I was only getting about 85 degrees heat coming out of the heat ducts, or out of the heat vents, I should say. And now I'm getting close to 100 degrees. And I've done the other end. This is a 60-foot trailer. I did one end, and now I'm doing this end. But today I'm going to go through and I'm going to start putting insulation up under here, underneath these beams here. And one thing I would highly recommend, you can go to about any hardware store and pick them up. And these are 16-inch insulation supports, and they work great. Real easy to do. I will say this, I took down some of the insulation. Someone was trying to put this insulation up here, and what they did is they used the paper backing, they flipped it around so the backing was showing and the insulation was going up. And what they did is they tried to staple it. They tried to staple it to to the 2x8s. But the problem is once over time gravity is going to take hold, it's going to fall down, or if it gets wet or anything else, you've got that issue. So I'm going to come back in a little bit and show you what I'm doing, and I think it's going to make a difference. I can tell you right now, on both ends of the house, I've noticed a significant improvement with the temperature holding heat. So we'll get back in just a minute. Okay, well, I got my respirator on and goggles and everything that I need. One thing I wanted to share is I'm using R13 insulation under here. Now, you could go with a thicker insulation, maybe an R19, but if you're on a budget like we are, R13 is going to still do a pretty good job. What I like to try and do is cut these to, I got this, been measuring them out about 4 feet wide in this middle section here, and I like to just use scissors. It's just a lot easier to cut these, and you get a lot finer cut, and the insulation isn't such a hassle, and you're not having to reuse not reuse, but go back and put another razor blade in, and because it does dull the razor blade pretty quick. But I'm going to get this cut, and then I'm going to show you how I put it up there. Okay, now that I got this cut, I'm just going to put it right up here, up in the rafter. And sorry for the bad angle here. Boy, there's just a lot of insulation floating around in the air. You can see how that fits up there nice and snug. And as I said before, you want to use these insulation supports. And I'm not sure what the recommendation is. I know going underneath regular houses, usually about every 4 feet or so, 3 or 4 feet. But for down here, I want to make doubly sure that this insulation stays up here. So I'm going to go ahead and probably put about every foot or so one of these. And you can see how this works. Just go like this, push up, and there it is, stays right in place. And I'm not going to worry too much about this because I'm going to get this here boxed in. This will all be boxed in later. So one thing you may want to also do is also invest in buying they come in 2 sizes, buy another box that's 24 inches. And because every now and then you're going to run into some oddball stuff in the floor, and you're going to need that. And especially if you got something, I've run into somewhere they were 18 inches, too long for a 16 and too short for a 24. So I just took some wire cutters and cut them down to size so they work. So I'm going to continue, and then I'll film just a minute. Okay, as I've been going down these support beams here, one thing I noticed and I wanted to share with you is, again, the importance of getting a larger size insulation support. This is a 16, and you can see it's just barely holding on. It isn't holding on at all. That's why you definitely need to have another size. And I've got these 24s here, these 24-inch supports. So what I'm going to need to do is cut that. Yeah, see, cut that so we get a good hold of that insulation. Okay. All right. There we go. And I'll have to do that on this one. Next one is pretty much 16, so I should be okay. So get back with you in a few minutes. And oh, by the way, please make sure that you get yourself some really good respiratory, just a good respiratory mask. I've got this one on, and right now I've got my glasses off. But this thing here, I bought it at a hardware store. Don't go get any cheap ones. Don't go buy your dollar kind, because it's going to fail you miserably. And I went ahead and bought a couple, and I was hacking up insulation for probably the next 12 hours. So these are probably $5. You get 2 of them, and well worth it. Okay, as you can see, it's taken me maybe 10 minutes or so. I'm laying on my back right now, but I've come up here and I've gone ahead and put this insulation in, and you can see where I still have a long ways to go. I'd say probably another 16-20 feet till I catch up to the other end. But one thing I wanted to share is when you're putting these spring steel in here, these insulation supports, you don't want to shove them all the way up where you push the metal basically into the floor at the hump there. You don't want to do that, because you want to allow the insulation to expand. So I just wanted to share that with you. Now, you may be thinking, okay, what am I going to do now with this? So again, looking along the side here, you can see where this insulation, has come down. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to push this insulation back, and then I'm going to come up and I'm going to staple this. I'm going to staple this to these 2x8s. And then once I get these stapled, I'm going to come back with my Armax insulation that I showed you earlier, and I'm going to run that right down through here. I got to first remove all these staples that are up here, but then I'm going to run it down, and that should make a nice airtight seal, I should say. Am I worried that there's probably some gaps here with the insulation? Yeah, there probably is some, but this is definitely going to be just a huge improvement on what it was before. So once I get that done and put this Armax up, I'll give you an idea what it's going to look like. Okay, well, we got to the part where we finally went ahead and we got the underlayment finally stapled into the 2x8s or 2x10s. And so I went ahead and got that Armax insulation, that board insulation. And the insulation comes in 4x8 sheets, but the problem is I don't have a lot of room here, so I had to cut it in half. And so I brought them in 2 pieces. And the good thing, though, is I took a measurement, and from where the edge of the heat duct register is all the way over to where the I-beam, the metal I-beam is, the main metal I-beam, is basically 4 feet. So I was able to go ahead and shove that up there. And then I'm using these metal sheet roofing screws, and notice they have kind of have a washer on them. They have a little washer there. And what I'm doing is I'm going every 16 inches or so wherever the 2x10s are,
and screwing this insulation up into them. Now, one thing to remember when you're doing this is you don't want to screw them in real tight. You want to just get them snug, and so that you kind of allow this to breathe and you don't put too much stress excuse me, on this insulation, or else it could probably tear. Now, I'm not sure how well this is going to hold. I may come back later with a couple boards and run them down just to kind of hold this in a little bit better. I've noticed over here I kind of have a hump, and that's from that insulation that's kind of rolled right there, and so I know there's some pressure there, and I may end up coming back with a board, maybe a 2x4 8-footer, and screw that up in there to hold that into place. So in future, we're going to go and talk about and show you basically what I do as far as framing in these heat ducts. As you can see the one down there that I framed in, and it's really helped with the heat. So that's what we'll be trying to do next week, or at least next time I film one of these. And as always, please click like and click subscribe, and we'll see you again on another episode of Mac Knows. Take care.
I just wanted to stress again the importance of a good respirator. As you can see, you see how white that is right there? This is the crap that I was glad that I didn't breathe in, that could have went into my lungs had I not had a decent respirator mask. So again, I'm not promoting any hardware chains, but you should kind of figure out one of the top two hardware chains sells these for probably about $5 for a 2-pack. Also wanted to show you, just to give you an idea on the R-Max. So one side, there's a foil wrap. As you can see here, we got a foil wrap on one side. I think these are 1/2 inch. And then you have this other, more of a kind of a paper side. Again, you can get these at your local retail hardware store for about $11–12 a sheet. Now, I bought 20 of these, so figure with my discount and everything, I paid about $220, and that's going to be enough to pretty much do everything I need underneath that house. Also, a couple rolls of that R13 insulation at about $15 a roll. And you can see that to do what I'm doing for basically under $350, I can get the majority of the underneath the home taken care of. So again, in future episodes, we're going to talk about the duct work and what I've done as far as insulating that, as well as a bunch of other things. Real quick, one other quick thing I wanted to share is this 3M foil tape. Yeah, it's 3M foil tape. It's about $15. This stuff is a lifesaver. This stuff, as long as you have a dry surface and a clean surface, this stuff sticks to just about anything, and it has saved my butt many times. And I'm going to be using this exclusively as I frame in that ductwork underneath the house. So again, this is Mac Knows just signing off, and please click subscribe and like, and we'll get back to you with some more episodes. Until then, take care.